Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone. I first want to thank Joanna and Orla, and again, I agree with everything they say. Great presentations. And I'll address the cost issue about NVivo at the end of the presentation. But just to introduce myself, I'm Silvana. I'm the Training and Research Consultancy Manager for QSR International in the EMEA region. So QSR is the company that's developed NVivo. I'm a sociologist, and I've been a qualitative researcher for over 30 years. First 20 years in academia, and then for 16 years I had my own business where I was training and consulting on a range of software packages, all to do with supporting the analysis of qualitative data. So what I'm going to talk about today, just move my thing on, is just briefly describe NVivo and how it supports qualitative analysis and the types of data it supports. I won't go into how it supports qualitative analysis because I think Joanna Orla did a good idea of good presentations about that. But I was asked to talk about some of the latest innovations in NVivo, and I'm going to focus on one of those, is the integration of SurveyMonkey with NVivo. So what is NVivo? And all these packages, I like to think of them as an electronic project or e-project. So it's a place where you would import and organize your research materials, whether they're photographs or whether they're videos. So I have a video in here, whether they're audio files, obviously textual data such as Word documents, PDF files, and Excel files. And also you can capture web pages and import them into NVivo, as well as social media. But it's more than that, because it's a place where you can organize and record your own reflections and thoughts about the data in a whole series of memos. And in fact, you can actually start writing up in NVivo with links, hyperlinks to the data that supports the analysis that you're constructing. And you can then export those memos out of NVivo into Word, and those hyperlinks, which are hyperlinks within NVivo, the supporting evidence, becomes references at the end of your Word document. So then you just need to just tidy up your Word document, your report, and then once you've done that, you can store that report back into NVivo, and then it becomes an archive of that particular study, which you can continue to mine. So for example, if your clients have asked further questions that your reports has raised, no problem, you can go into your NVivo project to answer them. Or if it's a more longitudinal study, you can add sort of like the second phase of data in that same project. So that's essentially what NVivo is. So I was asked to talk about some of the latest innovations in NVivo, and in a minute I'll talk about the integration with SurveyMonkey. But if you use Evernote to capture data on the move on your smartphone app or your iPad, photographs, notes, audio tapes, you can now import that into NVivo and analyze it. Also, with NVivo 10 comes a little tool called nCapture, which is literally a little button that's on your internet browser, and with one click you can capture any web page, and then you can import it into NVivo as a PDF file, which you can code, etc., and the links are still live. And also for social media data, you can also use nCapture to capture them as a data set, which means all that metadata, like in a Twitter stream, it will not only bring in the tweets, but it will bring in the hashtags, the mentions, the number of followers, location data, and then there are automatic charts based on that metadata, to chart the hashtags to map the location data. So I've given you a link to a YouTube video I did that explains that if you're interested in that. And also a very more recent one is auto-coding using existing coding patterns. So this is the first time there's a little bit of artificial intelligence in NVivo. So it's really based if you have a large data set and you need to code for broad descriptive data. So basically you would code 10% of it by hand, and then NVivo can go through the rest, matching the patterns that you use to code, and then there's a way that you can check all that. And then in a couple of weeks' time, time NVivo for Mac is coming out. So I'm going to quickly go through the integration of NVivo with SurveyMonkey, which is one of the latest innovations. So you can say, well, ask why use NVivo with SurveyMonkey. Well, if you have a lot of open-ended questions to analyze, it kind of makes sense to put that into NVivo to help you manage that. But even if you only have 1 or 2 open-ended questions, if you have a lot of respondents, it's still a lot to go through. So I'll be showing you some of the advantages of doing that. I should bear in mind that if you don't use SurveyMonkey, you can do the same thing with any other software for call quant open close-ended questions. But with SurveyMonkey, you can access your SurveyMonkey account directly from within NVivo. So there is an importation wizard from within NVivo that you just type your username, your password, you click a button to authorize NVivo to access your SurveyMonkey account. And when you do that, you'll see a list of surveys that you have in that account. So you just select the survey you want to bring into NVivo. And there's a straightforward wizard. So there might be some questions that you feel it's not worth putting into NVivo, so you would just deselect them. And NVivo automatically knows which are the open-ended questions and which are the close-ended questions from the information it gets from SurveyMonkey. And then once it's in NVivo, you can very quickly set it up as a relational database. So you can automatically code for the open-ended question. So it can do that first level of sorting for you very quickly. And that's what the others were saying about it. These are tools to support the organization of your material. And then you can also create a case node for each respondent and then link to that respondent node their answers to the close-ended questions. And then you can cross-compare answers to the close-ended questions to the open-ended questions. So I'm just going to move into NVivo now. Just to show you this. So I've already imported this survey here, which I'll just open it up briefly, but it's a survey of a GP surgery and the patient's satisfaction or dissatisfaction with it. So you can see here how each row, it's in a spreadsheet format, each row represents a respondent's answers, and the open-ended questions have a white background, the closed-ended questions have a gray background. So that's how it's imported directly from SurveyMonkey, what it looks like. And I haven't done anything else except to have a little folder for where the open-ended questions will go and a folder for the respondent codes. And also will be where the close-ended questions go. So I've just created those little folders there. And to automatically code for the open-ended questions, I'll just click the Autocode button there. And you can see here that it recognizes the columns. It knows which columns have the open-ended questions in it. And then it lists the open-ended questions here. So again, if there's any you don't want to bring in, you just remove them from the list. And then you just have to tell NVivo where do you want to put those answers to the open-ended questions. So I had already created that folder I just showed you for the open-ended questions. Click OK, finish, and it's there. So now if I look in the area for the open-ended questions, you can see here they all are. So 2 of the questions, what did they like best about this surgery? What did they like least? So if I just opened up liked least, I see all the answers for liked least here, and I can just go through them, and if I want to, I can code here more finely for the types of things they're talking about. But before I do that, I might want to get like a gestalt, a picture of what they're talking about. So I can run a very quick query, which is the word frequency query, which will be counting the words used and the number of times they've been used when they were answering the question what they liked least about the surgery. So I can just go to say, okay, count those words that have been coded to like least and just run it. And I get a list here, but what's really nice is that from that list I get a word cloud, which gives me an instant kind of gestalt of the type of things that they don't like. Obviously, waiting is a big thing, parking, time, appointment. And while these are nice visualizations, and you can see there's a range of visualizations you can do for, presentation purposes, you might want to just have it as a tag cloud initially, because it puts it in alphabetical order, those words that you have there. And also, any of these words, I can just click to look at them in context. So if I want to see what they're saying about parking, I can just double click the word about parking, and then I'll get it in context. The parking lot needs to be larger, car parking and long waiting periods, limited short-term car parking, 1 hour parking a bit short, etc. So you can see how I can get a very quick feel before doing anything further, just by running that query. I also noticed that they talked about appointment here, and if I want to sort of look at what they're saying about appointments very quickly over the whole data set, I could just search for the word appointment. And I'll have it searched, it'll group together the stem, so let's talk about appointments in plural. You can see I could also search for synonyms of appointment, and I'll go through everything there and run it. And again, what's nice is that I can get another type of visualization, a word tree, to help me explore a bit further. So the word tree has 5 words either side. But again, if I want to explore certain expressions like get an appointment, I can, again, sorry, I didn't want to export it. You can export it, but what I wanted to do was to run a text search query on get an appointment, that phrase. And again, I can see it in context, but again, with the word tree, I get a visualization that helps me to see it a little bit better, like that. And then, as you can see, it goes through what they're saying in context. And then if I double click again, I can get it. It will open up that piece in context there. So that's before I've done anything else with coding further, just to get a sense of the data. And then to complete the relational database, I would just run the Autocode, and this time to automatically code for each respondent. So you can see it will code to each respondent their answers to the open-ended question. And I just have to tell NVivo what's the respondent ID in the survey. And again, those are the open-ended questions there. And I just have to tell NVivo where to put it. So I had already created that folder for respondents. Finish it. So now it's creating for each respondent, they'll have the code of everything they said in the open-ended questions. And then the final piece is to link the answers of the close-ended questions to those respondents, as they have in this image. And again, I just have to tell NVivo where the respondent nodes are, which is in my folder for respondents. And the respondent ID. And then I just have to tell, which close-ended questions I want to bring in. So I would just select them from the list and move them over. I get a preview there. And so now if I look, for example, at the respondent node, I will see a particular respondent's answers to the open-ended questions, but also linked to every single word coded to those questions is the values of the answers to the close-ended questions, which allows me to do a very quick crosstabs comparing. One of the questions was to close-ended questions was about the satisfaction level that people had with overall satisfaction with the surgery. So I could compare their satisfaction level for the close-ended question with what they said about their reasons for giving that score. And I just want to put this into a better order here. So it goes from extremely to next. And then I just add to it the answers to the open-ended question, which is explaining the satisfaction level that they scored. Just go through it. And you can see here, I can then click on the words behind the numbers. I'm not so interested in the numbers in this case, to just see like, okay, what are the reasons? By just double clicking, I get that cell that they said about why they were just extremely dissatisfied. And I can go through each of those cells there to get a result there. So that's just a quick look before doing anything else, before coding more finely. And what did it take me? About, I don't know, a few minutes just to do that. And the software allows me to get that sense very quickly with that. So I just wanted to just finish just to say that with SurveyMonkey data in NVivo, you can quickly turn it into a relational database, as I did, and then you can do those word frequencies and word clouds to get a sense of the data and other visualizations to explore further. I haven't shown you all the range of visualizations NVivo has. And also you can use that crosstabs, the matrix queries, to look at patterns, to compare some of the close-ended questions with the open-ended questions that you have. So I'll just stop there, and there's my details there.